Good morning. Thank you for joining me for today's video. My name is Tracy Held. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne in Australia. And this is our Woohoo weekend. I'm sure you know that. You know exactly where you are, and I hope you've been having a fun time with all the presentations. I'm using the Symbols of Fortune suite today, and this is the project that we're going to be making. So it's a fun little project. Let's get my mouse pad out the way. So we're going to open the bow, and it opens up like that, and it's got all little inserts in each pocket, and this can be a mini album, so you could give it to somebody as a wedding present or change up your DSP and use it as a baby present. And you can stick photos in, write messages, personalize it however you like. And it does give you a fair bit of room because each of the cards are double-sided. So this is made using our Stampin' Up! Envelopes. If I push all my insides back in, it's then just going to tie up like that. Now I have prepared a lot of it beforehand just because we've got 3 envelopes, so we've got 3 of everything to do, and it's going to be a bit boring and repetitious for you if you're watching the whole lot. So I have done it. I'm going to show you one and obviously show you how to assemble. Let's just quickly go through the suite. Oops. And I'm using a lot of the elements from the suite in this. So you obviously have your Crown of Fortune stamp set. You've got the coordinating dies. I've also used the layering circles. So just to let you know which sizes. So on the inside, my inch one is 1, 2, so 2 5/8, and that will be 6.8 centimeters. And I've used the smaller one. I gave inches first, so let's go with that. So 2 1/8 inches, or your 5.5 centimeters. And of course, the main focus of everything here is the DSP. Now, I don't have a lot of this DSP left. I need to put some in for my next order. It is beautiful DSP. You can obviously see that one's not my favorite. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with that one. But we've got all the others. You've also got the ribbon that's part of the suite. So this is really beautiful satin shimmer ribbon, it's called, and it's in your soft succulent. And what I haven't used on here, but maybe we'll find somewhere to put them, is the polished dots that are part of that suite. All right, so let's get going. I just need my trimmer, which is over here. All right, and I've just realized I forgot to show you the other 2 things that I'm adding that are not part of the suite are our 2 punches. So the Detail Trio punch and the Label Me Lovely punch with the complementary dimensional backing, which has to come with everything. All right, so when we're starting, the first thing that I'm doing is I'm going to cut the edge of this envelope straight. When we get to doing the envelope, I'll explain to you why I did that. So it's not really a measurement. I'm just going to eyeball it and cut that straight. Okay, so be sure to put that one aside so that you know which one is going to be your top one, that's the one we're going to be using for that flap over there. And then, here we go. I knew I had new glue, but it had fallen onto the floor. So we're taking our other envelopes and we're just going to glue them together. This is a new glue, so I'm trying to be careful because we don't want it squishing out everywhere. But okay, so just making sure that that's still going to flap closed nicely. And then, now this does have a lot of pieces to it, and I will put all the measurements into the description. I haven't done that yet, but it will be there as soon as I'm finished. Okay, so that just needs to shift back fractionally so that we get the nice bend. And then when we fold it, it's going to go one that way, one that way. Why does that look like it's out of alignment? Okay, right, so I've obviously stuck that crooked. Okay, never mind, it'll work fine. Okay, then what we're going to do is I've got pieces which are going onto the back of each of the envelopes. Okay, now what I've done is I'm going one in my soft succulent and two in calypso coral, and we're going to stick a piece of DSP onto each of those. So like I said to you, I've done 3 in advance and we're just going to do the one. I didn't think that you would enjoy watching me stick everything 3 times. Okay. And now you just want to be sure that when you're sticking this, you know which way is going to be up and which way is going to be down, because some of your pieces are directional. So those two, we don't want birds flying upside down, and you know, although the flowers can go either way, they have a very definite stems grow down and not up. So, and it doesn't matter what order you put them in. So it's up to you to decide which way you want them. I've done this one the opposite of what we've got here. I had 2 greens here and then the 1 calypso coral here. I've got the 2 calypso coral. So you just need to decide which one you want to be on the front of your card, and with it folding up. And I just folded it all the wrong way as well. No. Okay, so I've just spoken rubbish because the front of your card is going to be one of the inside pieces. So it doesn't really matter on the outside which one goes where. Clearly got myself into a little tiz here because I had the timing all wrong. I thought I was on an hour later and then suddenly realized I think it's because we changed daylight savings time before when we had our time zones up. So I'm probably still on the old time, but that's okay. I'm here, I'm ready, and we're going. All right. So there are those three. And then I need my pieces for the inside. So same thing again. I've already stuck on the two, and we're just going to do the last one. So I alternated. On my back, I did 2 calypso coral and 1 soft succulent. On the inside, I'm doing 2 soft succulent and 1 calypso coral. You can do the same if you like, or you can do them all the same color, or you can go and try completely different colors. Obviously, there's no right and wrong way for you to do anything. And there we go. Oops. Now, here's where again we just want to make sure which one is the right one, the right way up and the wrong way up. And your last envelope is going to be your front piece. So this is the one where you now need to decide which one you want on the front. So I could have the flowers or I could have the birds. But, you know, given that I'm going to have my crane on the front, I'm going to stick with the birds again. And by birds, I do mean flowers. Okay, so those ones are smaller. And yes, if you just went, oops, you've grabbed the wrong piece. No, I did realize that I've grabbed another green one. So I'm going to make sure that I stick the green one here so that I'm keeping my alternating pattern going. And then my calypso coral in the middle. So if I say so myself, I think that this project looks really impressive and it looks like it's very complicated. You can see it isn't. And don't tell anybody how easy it is. I always say you never say anything's really easy. If somebody says, wow, that looks like it was really hard, you go, yes, it was. It took me ages. So never admit that anything's easier than people think it is. Right, now, let's deal with the flap. Now, the flap for me was the most difficult part of this project. It's getting it all aligned and rounded and matched up. And I have to admit that a number of envelopes were injured in the making of this. It was for a good cause, so they're okay with it, and I will manage to use them for something else. Lucky for me, I have some lovely friends who send me cards from the States, so I have the different size envelopes. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to cut 1/2 centimeter, or it would be your 1/4 of an inch off this piece for the flap. Okay. Now we get very technical, and you'll need a ruler and a pencil, and I'm going to measure in 1/2 centimeter, or it would be your 1/8 of an inch from either side. And we're then going to cut from that mark into the corner. I think I need a fraction more off there. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Now, unfortunately for the flaps, because we've cut it at an angle, I can't use my corner rounder punch because that needs to go in at a right angle on the sides there. And I can't round it before because the envelope has a completely different angle. Okay, so hence what was giving me all my problems. So what we're going to do is hold the envelope against the strip that we've just cut for the flap, and you're going to just follow the rounding of the envelope to cut that, and we're doing the same thing on the other side. Now, I don't know that I'm 100% happy with this. It does give a little bit of a gap, which you'll see, but it's the best that I could do. So that's what I'm going with. And we need to do the same thing on the DSP for the flap. So same thing. I'm doing this on the reverse side. I'm going to use the Calypso coral side. So measure your 1/2 centimeter or your 1/8 of an inch. And we're cutting that. There we go. And then it's the same deal with rounding the corners. You can either use your envelope or you can use the piece of cardstock that you've cut. I think I find it easier to use the cardstock as my template just because it's a little bit sturdier than the envelope, but it doesn't really matter which one you're going to use. Okay. So once we've got that, we're going to stick the DSP onto the flap. And I've just realized that there was one very important thing that I forgot to do with my envelope. But fortunately, I haven't stuck anything yet, so we can still go and do it. And what you want to do is on the envelope, okay, I don't know where my scoring blade has jumped off to. It must have jumped somewhere. All right, I'm going to make another plan here. You want to score at 1 centimeter, or it's going to be your 3/8 of an inch. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm just trying to line my sort of envelope flap here at that 1 centimeter, and I'm going to just use the back of my to score that. All right, so that was an important step that we needed. That's going to give you your side here, so that when you've got your photos and things in the album, you're going to be able to have space for it to expand. All right, now the question is, do I want an orange flap here so that I have alternate colors, or do I want a green? I think that we're going to go with the green flap on the front. and this little piece that I cut off, we're going to stick on that bit that we've scored. So I cut that off before I angled it, because then it gives me a longer piece. Otherwise, if I've angled it, that piece gets a little bit shorter once I've cut it off. Okay. And my little orange piece has disappeared. Looks like things are hiding from me today. Like here, I've got an extra strip here because we're going to need that for the inside. Now, when I'm sticking my inside piece on, I'm sticking it that it's going over the glue on the inside of the envelope. So this one's going pretty close to the edge here. So you can see that where I was saying I'm not 100% happy with the way that this is rounded, but I haven't figured out a way to get it any better. And I don't think, unless you actually go and point out that it doesn't look so great, nobody's really going to pay any attention to that. So don't do what I've just done. Don't show anybody. If you figure out an easier way to do it, please let me know. I would be happy to hear about that. And then the last thing that we need to do is our inserts. Now, give me 1 second because I had them all together and I think it's fallen on the floor. 1 second, let me just find my last piece of paper. Here we go. There we go, there's the DSP and the insert. So again, this one's really easy. All that I'm going to do is round the corners on my paper, and then round the corners I've got 2 strips of DSP over here. That didn't round very well. And like I said, this would be the easiest way to round corners, but because you've got the slope on the envelope, the punch doesn't work. And then you need 1 piece punched out with the label Me Lovely punch. And we're going to take that punch and cut it in half. Now, just be careful when you do this. You want to cut it in half that you're cutting along the straight side so that you're getting that frilly edge on the edge of your inserts. If you cut it that way, you've got a straight edge and it's not as exciting. Don't ask me how I figured that one out. I may have cut it the wrong way first time round, but we learn from our mistakes. Now, if it's not exactly in half, it doesn't matter. We want it as in half as we can get it, but it's not crucial. And we're going to stick this down. So when I'm sticking it so that the edge of my paper is there along the first bump of this punch. And I'm not measuring, trying to get it exact, just trying to eyeball that it's roughly in the middle. And I normally don't get it 100% straight, but more or less is okay. And then we're going to stick the other half directly over that. And then our DSP over the label and just giving us that nice decorative edge on our inserts. Now, you may have noticed that when I've done this, I've used like the gold, more subtle shades for the edges here, and I've used the reverse sides which have the colored pieces. And again, that was just the way I chose to do it. You can swap it around or mix it up. That's the nice thing about this, is we've got so many great varieties in this designer series paper, and you can use whichever one appeals to you. Now, again, I don't know whether I'm just a little bit OTT here, but I've done 2 of my labels in the Calypso Coral, so that those are going into the green bases, and my shaded spruce is going into the Calypso Coral. So those should go in, and it looks like I've really stuck these envelopes badly because they're not, oh, there we go. Maybe if I push it a little bit further in, it will. So when they write in, they should be that they just coming up to the edges of the fold. So okay, it looks like we've got that. All right, so there we go, fold it up, and we're now ready to decorate the front. So I'm going to take my ribbon, and we're going to measure a piece that it's going around. Now, just be a little bit generous. Remember that you're going to be tying and untying this a few times. So give yourself a bit of extra ribbon so that you can tie bows with it. And I'm going to tie it first so that I can see where my bow's sitting before I stick my focal piece on it. Just want to shift it over a little bit because it looks like the one tail's landing up longer than the other one. Now you don't want to pull that too tight because right now I don't have anything in it, but I don't want to flatten my edge over there. So let's just stick my circles together. So I've stuck my one circle, cut my one circle in the gold foil sheet. And then this one, I've just got the clouds in that DSP. And we're going to stick the crane over. Now remember, his feet and his wings, the feet could actually stick down once they're on the flap, but for now I'm just going to put glue on the back of the body over here so that we're just getting that stuck, and then if I want to I can always go back and add glue. Alright, so that's going to sit over there, so we maybe want that bow a little bit closer to the edge, roughly in the middle. Now this is going to hold it down, but just while you're busy sticking, what you can do is with the wrong end of the pick it up tool, just grab a mini glue dot and put it underneath so that it's going to hold your ribbon where you want it. And then we're going to glue I've just messed that up completely. Okay, so be very careful there. Don't do what I just did. you only want glue on the bit that's going to sit on the flap. Okay, the rest doesn't have glue because otherwise you're gluing it closed and you're never going to be able to open it to see what exciting things you've put inside. Alright, so there we go. If I want to, I can just put a drop of glue behind its feet to hold them down on the flap, and we could put a teeny bit of glue behind the head. This is a new glue, so I'm trying to be very careful that I don't squish too hard and land up with glue everywhere. There we go. And I always say you can never have too much bling, so let's put a couple of the clear dots on. We'll just stick a few between the flowers. Right, so there we go. So that's our little mini album. There's our closed one, and it's going to open up like that. Alright, so I hope that you've enjoyed this project. I will put all the measurements into the description. And Nancy, yes, you're definitely going to have to add this paper to your wish list. I'm already needing to get another pack of it. So it is lovely and it is fun to work with. I hope that you go and make these and that the people that you give them to enjoy them. All right, so I'm going to take a short break for now and I will be back shortly. Bye. Ew, that was hard.